Go to Cebu. Dynamic. Down it. Down it.
Very good morning, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this press conference of the European Union Election Observation Mission to Guyana to present its preliminary statement. Let me first introduce the members, the representatives of the mission who are here. Of course, we have our chief observer, Mr. Robert Biedroń, a member of the European Parliament from Poland, who will deliver the statement. We also have his deputy, Ms. Vania Angelova, and also a legal analyst of the mission, Mr. Komfai. Few technicalities before we start. After our CEO will deliver his statement, there will be an opportunity for journalists to ask questions, and the preliminary statement itself and also the press release from this press conference will be waiting for you outside of this room at the end. One more thing I will mention, the fact that you are sitting here, it means that you are quite likely to be also filmed or photographed. I hope you are okay with that. In case you are not okay with that, there is a special designated area at the back of the room for you. If you are sitting here, it means you are okay with us using your photos, maybe a footage from this press conference and our social media or social media of the European Commission. With this, without any further ado, let me pass the floor to our chief observer to deliver his presentation.
Thank you very much, Marek, and good morning, everyone. Colleagues, diplomatic missions, my fellow colleague observers, members of the of course, good morning, people of Guyana. Coming back to Guyana, now for the elections, 1 month after my first visit, has been very special. Let me first of all thank everyone I was able to meet during those visits. I am grateful to our interlocutors, including the officials, political parties, civil society, the media, and above all, the citizens of Guyana for welcoming me here and for letting me and my team observe your electoral process. I also want to thank my great team for all the hard work they've done. Thank you very much, colleagues. It was an honor to work with you. It has been also an honor for the European Union to deploy this election observation mission to our country. This is the 12th general and regional elections since Guyana's independence during a crucial period for the country. The European Union is proud to have accompanied this moment in Guyana's democratic journey. Our mission began its work on 23rd July, and on election day, 1st of September, we had 50 observers deployed across all 10 regions of Guyana. Our observers come from all the EU member states and from Norway, demonstrating a broad international commitment to supporting democracy in Guyana. All observers visited a total of 253 polling stations throughout the E-Day, from the opening of the polls to the counting of ballots. And they also followed the closing and tabulation of results. Today, I am honored to share our interim observations based on the reports, and I want to stress that this is a preliminary statement. Important stages of the electoral process are still ongoing, and we will continue to observe the post-election process. This includes tabulation of results, and in the coming weeks, we will issue a final report with recommendations. Ladies and gentlemen, positively, on 1st September, Guyana held its general and regional elections in a peaceful and orderly manner. Voters queued patiently, polling stations opened on time, and polling staff carried out their duties professionally and efficiently. At the same time, the elections took place in a highly polarized and evolving political landscape against the backdrop of exponential oil revenue growth. While fundamental freedoms were largely respected, the campaign was affected by unequal conditions, largely due to ruling parties' incumbency advantage. The legal framework provides a solid basis for conducting elections, but gaps remain, especially in areas of transparency and accountability. While legal amendments were introduced in 2022, further reform is needed to reduce political influence over key institutions and to strengthen citizens' confidence in the electoral process. The Guyana Elections Commission, GECOM, managed the elections efficiently. However, its decision-making remains heavily influenced by political polarization, which undermine public confidence. Commission members often express conflicting stances in public, which further compromise trust in the institution. Public communication was inconsistent at times, leaving space for misinformation to circulate. The final voter list included 757,069 registered voters. It also includes citizens residing abroad and Commonwealth citizens living in Guyana. Opposition parties questioned the accuracy of the list, claiming it was inflated. The absence of recent and reliable population data, together with lack of political will for transparency, fueled a narrative of potential voter list manipulation in the run-up to the elections. Candidate registration was inclusive and timely. 6 political parties were approved to contest, all meeting legal requirements, including gender quotas. A total of 2,424 candidates contested the elections, including 771 candidates for the National Assembly, 50% of them women. I want to stress that the campaign was peaceful and competitive, with 6 political parties providing voters with a genuine choice. Fundamental freedoms were generally respected, yet several challenges undermine equal conditions. Reports included limited access to public venues for the candidates, pressure on civil servants, and administrative actions affecting campaign freedom. The campaign finance is largely unregulated, leading to a lack of transparency and accountability. The ruling party benefited from the advantages of incumbency. Public projects such as hospitals, schools, roads, and bridges were inaugurated in a parallel with campaign activities, while state media and government social media channels amplified ruling party messages. Let me be clear on that. When the line between state and party blurs, voters are disadvantaged and the level of playing field is compromised. Moreover, the campaign became confrontational as election day approached, with heated rhetoric between major parties. Nevertheless, let me underline, despite those tensions and the unequal conditions, the elections remain competitive, offering citizens a broad choice across 6 parties and thousands of candidates. Let me pass now to the media and digital environment. The media landscape was highly politicized. Many outlets were aligned with political actors, resulting in disproportionate coverage in favor of the ruling party. Independent journalists were verbally attacked by high-ranking government officials for their professional stance and asking critical questions. The digital space was vibrant but often hostile, with manipulative content circulating online. Political discourse on Facebook and TikTok was largely driven by a small number of influencers and digital media, many showing close alignment with key parties. Some personal data was reportedly misused for political purposes. Yet, encouragingly, a few independent media, and I want to stress that, a few independent media outlets and personal social media pages offered balanced, non-partisan information, helping voters make informed choices. This is important because free and independent media is the lifeblood of democracy. When citizens can access a diversity of perspectives, they are empowered to make their own decisions. On election day, our observers witnessed a calm and orderly process. Polling staff were professional and dedicated. Police stations opened on time and the polls were efficiently managed. Measures such as restricting mobile phones inside polling stations were implemented to enhance integrity. When it comes to the participation of persons with disabilities, 59% of polling stations observed did not provide independent access for persons with reduced mobility. I also regret to see the civil society organizations previously involved in election observations were not active in those elections. Citizens participated with passion and determination, demonstrating that democracy is not just about the law, but a shared responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, during those elections, the voters showed dedication and made their electoral choices in a calm and peaceful manner. Our observers saw professional polling staff, mostly women, facilitating the process efficiently across towns and villages of Guyana. Overall, the 2025 general and regional elections in Guyana were peaceful, inclusive, and efficiently organized, offering citizens meaningful choices. At the same time, challenges remain. Political polarization, the influence of incumbency, gaps in the legal framework, and a highly politicized media environment affected the playing field. Addressing these challenges is crucial. Citizens need to trust their vote matters and that the process is fair and transparent. Strong, independent institutions, a vibrant media, civil society organizations, and clear legal frameworks are essential to safeguard democracy in Guyana. The European Union Election Observation Mission will remain in Guyana to observe the remaining stages of the electoral process. With the tabulation still ongoing, we hope that standards of transparency. Our final report, including recommendation for integrity, will be issued in the coming weeks. We hope it will contribute constructively to Guyana's democratic reform process. To sum up, we have observed competitive elections and peaceful voting, yet undue advantage of incumbency and legal gaps created an even playing field. Thank you very much for attention.
Thank you very much. Now there is a time for the questions from journalists. If you are a journalist, you would like to ask a question, if you can please just raise your hand. There is a microphone coming, and maybe we can just take few questions, maybe 3 questions before answering them. So first question on the left, yes?
Good morning. Good morning, Dennis Chabral, Demerarians. Sir, could you elaborate a bit more about the influence or impact of the oil sector on the elections? And secondly, what would you say can be done to ensure that recommendations be taken on board by observer missions? We have seen many of the recommendations or issues raised here being repeatedly raised in elections dating back to as far as the 1990s. So what can be done to at least ensure that there is some sort of stern action or firm action to take these recommendations on board?
Thank you very much, sir, for your questions. They're very important, both of them. On the first one, concerning the influencers and in general functioning of social media, what I want to underline is influencer oil sector. Okay, thank you very much. Well, on that I cannot comment. This is what is important is that the transparency on financing will be preserved, and this is very important. I want to call on the authorities that that this is also about the trust of the whole electoral system. Citizens need to be sure that when they go to vote, the decisions they take, they're not influenced by unequal competition. And this also concerns the financing. I know that in 2008, Guyana accessed the UN Convention Against Corruption, and I encourage the authorities to work further to improve the system, the legal system, the democratic system they implemented in the country, that the competition will be fair, and this is very important. And on recommendations, so Guyana is a sovereign country, and we respect that. We are invited, and we will present in the middle of November, I think, our final report with recommendations, as we do every time. And I want to encourage authorities or responsible bodies for implementation of the measures that were recommended in the past, and I'm sure will be recommended also this time. This is a matter of the authorities, of the new authorities, of the new government and the new parliament elected in these elections, that they will be responsible for that. Thank you.
Yes, another question. Yes, please.
Svetlana Marshall, News Source. You said that there was political influence over key institutions. Could you elaborate a bit on that for me? And would you go so far as to name the institutions that were largely influenced by politicians during this period?
Yes. So what is important is in democracy that we need to build trust in the institutions. When there is a lack of trust within the institutions, especially electoral institutions, then we are all losing on that. And democracy is losing on that. People are not having hope in the institutions, trust in the institutions. When they go and vote again, that there is always this mistrust when the institutions don't work according to democratic rules, rule of law, respecting some regulations. So I want to stress that the political influence over the especially independent institutions always bring harm, and this should never happen, because this demolishes the trust among people. And what is essential is the trust of the voters in these independent, especially independent institutions. Thank you.
So maybe we can have a few more questions now. The first one, yes, please. Yes.
Marcel Thomas, the Stabroek News. You've had observers out in the fields for over a month. Can you elaborate to say on the feedback that you've gotten from them, especially those that were in the hinterlands, on how the campaign went there? And you spoke of social media influence on these elections. If you can expand a bit on what your observations were. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, as I said, we were observing in all the regions of Guyana, and I want to thank all the stakeholders for allowing us to observe in all the meetings we held. 50 observers, they were working usually in pairs. On the election day, for example, we visit 262 polling stations across all the 10 regions, almost 10% of total. So you can see the amount of work we delivered with our assessment. Of those, 92 were in rural areas, 35%, and 31 in the indigenous communities, which is 12%. So this is a very broad coverage, and combining with the methodology we provided during these observations, it gives the confidence that our findings are representative. So, and I also want to stress that the party agents were present in every polling station we observe, and this is also that of a strong safe elections, and so that would be my comment about social media. So social media, again, the most without freedom of expression, including also diverse and free media, including social media. Always when they are under political pressure, it never helps to any democratic society, and I think this is also what we observe here, that some of the influencers were very much politically engaged. We also observe misinformation, disinformation circulating in social media, but still, besides that, of course, we've seen many independent journalists, many independent social media influencers working in the country and distributing information, and I want to thank all of them for their work.
Okay, you can go ahead. Yes.
How would you describe the efficiency of tabulation at the polling centers?
It's a very good question, madam, and as I said, we are still observing the tabulation. There are 60 of our observers in the stations. It's still ongoing. We are still observing. So it's GCOM to announce the results, as you know, on that. And what matters most for us is the transparency of the procedure. We want to be sure that it's transparent. That's why we are still together with our fellow colleagues from other observation missions. We are still observing the process. The process must be, and I have a feeling that is open for the parties so far and observers, and it must be secured that everyone can have confidence in the outcome. And I hope this will be also secured. Thank you.
There is a question in the second. If you can also present yourself, which media you represent, please.
Roy Ramshawn from RSTV, New York. You have been observing elections here in Ghana for the longest while. And what future improvement you would like to see happen in future elections? What would you recommend for more recommendations for future elections?
Thank you very much. As I said, this is our preliminary statement. We will issue our final report in the coming weeks. I will come back to you with that. I'll be returning to Guyana. What is essential, and it implies to every country. I represent Poland, all of the countries around the world. Effective democratic system needs regular, inclusive, transparent, and credible elections. And this must be ensured. And on these values, we should build the system. Guyana is on the way. And in this preliminary statement, I underlined it. There are gaps. There is still room for improvement, but Guyana is on its way. And this brings also a lot of hope for the future elections. I want to invite authorities responsible for implementation of the recommendations to work on them. We will all issue our recommendations. There were a series of observation missions, including our mission. I have a feeling that we observe very similar issues, and there is a room where the authorities, together with regional and international organizations, can work to improve. We work very closely with United Nations. They were present, they are present today, and they have methodology, they have skills, they have tools to work together with the Guyanese authorities on this improvement. And I want to encourage authorities to follow this path. Thank you.
How many polling stations is your observer team cover? And do you have anybody in the command center that is tabulating those right now?
Yes, as I said, sir, thank you again for the question. Our 50 observers working in Paris, including myself, as you probably seen, and we met on different polling stations, observing the elections. You were voting, or you were observing from the distance as media as well the process. We observed 262 polling stations across all 10 regions of Guyana, almost 10% of total. So it's a really broad coverage, which gives us possibility to really well assess the situation. 35% in rural areas, 31 polling stations in indigenous communities, which is 12%. So with our detailed methodology, we are providing really very detailed information on our observation. And this will be also a case with our final report. And once again, I want to use this opportunity to thank my team for their hard work in all the regions and all their observers from our fellow colleagues of observation missions. Yes, and we are still, my colleagues is suggesting me to underline that, which I underlined in the previous question. Our 16 observers are still observing the process. So it's not finished. Our observation is still going on.
Microphone if you have a question, the last one, please. But we heard.
Bring the gentleman the microphone.
Sorry about that, I do apologize. My question is, we now observing the tabulation, do you see that GCOM will make an announcement very soon, the final result? Do you have any idea about that?
I'm not to comment on that, sir. So it's up to GCOM and their pace of work to decide about that. We are only observing, sir. We are not interfering on any stage, as probably some of the media had tempted to tempt me to comment during the process, and I did not went into this trap because we are trying to be, and we are, I believe, very professional. Our methodology does not allow us to interfere or comment on any of the process going on. And this is a case with the tabulation. So we're waiting until the GCOM will publish the final results, and then I'll be very happy to answer your question, sir.
Sir, now that the actual balloting has been completed, to what extent do you believe that the size of the voters list may have influenced the voter turnout? And secondly, did you find of that size of the voters list being exploited for multiple voting or any other type of irregularity?
Okay, thank you for this question. And if you allow me, ladies and gentlemen, I will pass the floor now to my deputy chief observer. She's been here long, she's done a lot of work, and I think she deserves also a voice to be heard because she was an excellent deputy chief observer, and she has knowledge also, even more probably than me, to answer your question. So Vania Angelova, my excellent deputy chief observer.
Yes, thank you. Well, the accuracy of the voter list was questioned during the campaign and the pre-election period by the opposition political parties and also by the media and different interlocutors. And of course, we are not, we noticed that there is no reliable population data in our report. We acknowledge this on which to base actually and to make an assessment of the accuracy of the voter list. However, this issue is less about numbers and more about the public confidence to our understanding. We were not able to, of course, look at the accuracy of the voter list, but we heard the concerns of the different opposition political parties. However, during our observation, we haven't seen any or heard about cases of impersonation of voters during the voting process.
The second question,
yes,
clear if you can.
Apart from voter impersonation, what about multiple voting? Did you get any, see any evidence of that?
No, no multiple voting as well.
Thank you.
I don't see any other hands, any other attempt to ask question. And if it's the case, let me thank you very much for your active participation, and just to let you know again that the statement and the press release are both outside of this room waiting for you. Thank you very much.